Today I'll be going over staining, sealing, and repairing cracks on carvings. Today I've got a sea turtle carving here that's got a fairly big crack in it, right in the shell. Fix that up right quick, and then we'll go over how I stain all my carvings and then seal them. So this is the crack we got here. So the first step in repairing the crack is making it so that the lines, each edge of the crack is relatively straight. And you just go along with an X-Acto knife and kind of, you can pull up or carve down. I prefer carving up because the shims, they don't go too deep. And then you got this. I'm just gonna leave that because that looks all right, I think. That's better. I suggest you use an X-Acto knife. I lost mine, so I got my Leatherman. Relatively the same sharpness, but not quite. So for filling these in, there's a lot of ways you can go about doing it. You can use wood filler, stain the wood filler, then reseal it. I don't like doing that because it takes a long time. I use cedar shims. You can get these bad boys at Home Depot for I don't know how many dollars. They used to sell them in a bigger pack, but I guess they downsized to these things because, well, I don't know who's in charge of selling shit, but you know, whatever floats your boat, right? So you're gonna want to get a pack that has a variety of colors to match your carving. Now this is a tight grain, old growth piece of wood, so it's a very deep red. So we're gonna pick out the deep red shims in here. There's one deep red one, and I think that's the only deep red. Wow, these are different, eh? I'm used to the old ones. That's why I got 2 packs, just in case some bad crap happened. And there's another deep red-ish. This one's deeper. Well, you know, it's hard to get an exact match, but yeah. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to take a shim and insert it right up in there. Try to get an idea of how big of a shim you're gonna need. You might actually get away with just one shim on this one. I doubt it. So what you can do is you can shave your shim. So it's kind of a double bevel in there. And that's gonna be that. So what you do is you grab your glue and just apply liberal amounts. That means a lot. Alright, there you go. That should do it. And you're just gonna wanna let it kind of drip in there first, and then proceed to jam the shim inside. I usually use a hammer. I don't have one. I got a propane tank. So we're just gonna bang that in there a little bit. Until it's nice and in there. Go ahead, wipe up the drabs. Now, when you repair a carving, don't expect 100% perfection with the results, because that's just ridiculous. It is a giant crack, and it's going to be noticeable. The key thing is making it less noticeable is what makes people happy. So when you're grinding this down back into shape, try to avoid actually touching places that have been finished, because when you reseal it, it'll have a glow around it. It's hard to explain. Wherever you hit with the sander will not be the same color as the original stain, so just try to hit the shim only. I'm gonna get started on this one and just kind of reshape it back the way it was. It should only take a second. So I made a little bit of a boo-boo by touching that one side there. That's completely alright. Grab a palm sander with 220 grit on it. And the grinder, I was just using a 80 grit grinding pad. with just a plastic bag. So we're just going to sand around the area to kind of lighten the glow that'll occur once we seal it. Alright, so as you can see, there's the chunk of wood we jammed in there. I went ahead and notched the areas where the detail needed to be. I sanded the whole shell just for the fact that I want it to be really glossy once I put that coat on. Now I seal my carvings with a paint sprayer with a spar of urethane, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But for the sake of just finishing this off, I'm going to use a brush just to coat the shell, and we'll see how close of a match we have with the finish. All right, so another trick with seeing how this is going to turn out is wet your finger a little bit and put it on the carving, and you'll be able to see what the finish will actually look like. And that is not the greatest match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my torch and I'm just going to darken it a bit so it isn't as bright. And then I'm going to give it a light sand. And I think that's going to be it for the repair. So you can grab these dollar store brushes for about $1 at the dollar store, and they're good for one use. So for a sealant, I use the Spar Varathane Clear Finish from Canadian Tire. It's 45 bucks a jug, and personally, I like it better than Helmsman or any other Spar Varathane. I find Helmsman is really reactive to wet wood, and it'll turn the wood completely almost like a black. For someone who carves and seals a carving in the same day, it's not really my kind of sealant. If you're using dry wood though, it works great. Alright, so we're just going to grab a little dab, just finish off the shell here. Nice light coat in there. Really should have blown off the entire carving, but that's alright. Alright, so now that's going to dry. I'm going to put them out in the sun. So you can clearly see where the repair is, which is not the end of the world. And 10 out of 10 times people will like to see a repair more than they'll like to see a crack. So if you look at them from this distance, you know, me and you can both see that crack clearly. But to someone who's just seen a carving, they'll be taken in by the absolute magnificence of this piece and not actually really care about it. So there you go. Repairing a crack 101 with a shim. Now, let's get into finishing off some of these pumpkins, huh? Let me show you my setup for spraying. Alright, so this is my setup. I've used it on multiple different projects, even when it comes to furniture, as in like painting, because I hate painting with a brush. It's not my forte, you know? So this bad boy skips that whole process. Now, there are ups and downs to using an air sprayer. There's cleanup, there's maintenance on the gun, but I mean, that's the same thing as using a good brush. You gotta wash it when you're done with it, right? In my opinion, it uses less product, and you get more bang for your buck that way. You have control over how thick of coats you put on for Spar Varathane finish, and oil, or when you're oiling them. So yeah, all around, I say this is probably one of the best things you can buy. It's just a little cheap paint sprayer. As for the oils I'll be using, we're just gonna burn the tops of the pumpkins. So for oil on the pumpkins, we're gonna be using the timber oil. You get it from Home Depot for about 40 bucks a jug. For the sealant, we're using Canadian Tire brand Armor Coat. You thin that down, I think it's 20-80 mix. So 20% paint thinner, 80% this stuff. And when you're using a paint sprayer, you always want to have a respirator. This is a charcoal respirator. It filters out vapors as opposed to those pink ones that just filter out debris. You don't smell anything you're spraying when you got this on. That's how you know it's working. And for my compressor, I just have a small, let's pan down. I just have a small quarter cable. The regulator is set at 40, and that's with this guy, 40 PSI, and it works like a dream. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna burn the tops of the pumpkins and then we'll start spraying.
Set my heart afire.
And there you have it. So that's a fast and efficient way for sealing a lot of carvings in a relatively short amount of time using relatively a small amount of product. Now I will go ahead and give these guys a second coat, but for the purpose of this video, that's it. You've got what you came here for. Take a minute to apologize for, the lack of videos I've been uploading. It gets hot out here in BC for exactly 2 months. And it gets like, holy crap, we're not used to that kind of hot, and it just bogs everything down, especially when it comes to me. So I've been carving though, don't get me wrong, I've been carving like crazy, and just haven't had the time or energy to put into making videos. I'll be making the how-to video on how to do a horse head. I'll be carving that up tomorrow, so I'll definitely get a video of that, and hopefully upload it by the end of the week. I believe somebody wanted to see me carve a wood spirit. I'll try to get that one done this week too. Just get the footage, that is. Alright guys, any questions, just leave it in the comments below and I'll try to get to you. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram under, I think it's Chainsaw Artist, where I usually upload pictures of my work every day. And yeah, alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. Keep on carving.